this is the reason high performers usually leave where they were at, because their comp plan got changed. So as the business evolves and grows, you start making different considerations. When you understand how to build businesses, then you understand the lifeblood of a business is how many times one client will transact with you over what period of time. So unlike most of you that are just looking for a client, I'm looking for partners and clients for life. Forever, I want you to transact with me. That holds me to a higher obligation of what I need to deliver back to you. Would you agree? So when you get to breakpoint 4, $25 million in revenue, all of a sudden you're going to be operating your business on 14 to 17 different technology systems. You're going to have to change your accounting from cash to accrual because of the IRS rules. All of a sudden you find out your compensation programs, you're paying on deposits when they're really liabilities, but you were paying them as though they were cash generated. And this is where you start doing things like between 15 and 25 million, you start changing your compensation programs, and then you start losing your best people because they're like, I'm gonna make so much less money, you guys are screwing me over, I'm gonna go start my own business. How many of you left your business because someone changed your comp plan? Like, this is the reason high performers usually leave where they were at, because their comp plan got changed. So as the business evolves and grows, you start making different considerations. So here's what I can tell you. As you start going through these breakpoints all the way up to 125 million, but I want to illustrate to you that if you can do, just get this, if you can get to $1 million with 3 or 4 employees, and your business is legal, moral, ethical, and compliant, because if you take shortcuts, it will catch up to you. So if you can get to $1 million with 4 employees and you can generate somewhere between a 10 and 20% profitability on that $1 million, you can go to 125 million. You can easily go to 25 million, but you can certainly also go to 125 million. But at each one of these breakpoints, the business needs to evolve, and the person in charge of the business, the law of the lid, if you're the cap, your business is going to evolve outside of you, which means the people that are evolving it are going to leave you. There's 75 things you have to have working together foundationally in place in your business to get to $125 million in revenue. 75 things. And they need to be in place in sequence. 100,000 to 3 million, the 2 or 3 things need to be in place. 3 million to 8 million, the 2 or 3 things need to be in place. 8 million to 15 million, the 2 or 3 things need to be in place. Because if you bypass the things that you must have in place statistically, now, mind you, this is not me telling you they need to be in place. This is based on the science and the research of all the businesses that broke and went out of business and crumbled and stagnated and all the problems and equally the successes. This is what we were able to identify as what needs to be in place at what point in time, with whom and how. And we created systems for all these things, and this is what I spent the last 15, 18 years engineering, which is why I'm able to do this. Because see, I had one little game in these breakpoints. Here was my game. I want to start my business and get it going, and I want to play a game that we used to play as kids, which is called leapfrog. My target was in 5 years to be able to go from one breakpoint, leapfrog to the top end of the next breakpoint. But I also know something. You can only build so fast. Could I have jammed the activity and gone from breakpoint 1 to breakpoint 4? Sure, but I would have broke. Because I know what things need to be in place, and I needed to build those things, which is why if you look, I went from 2.5 to 14 million, which is the top end of breakpoint 3. I went from 14 million to 38, which is just about the top end of breakpoint 5, and I went to 83, which is the top end, mid-range of 7, and then this year we're going to be in breakpoint 8, which is 125 to 250 million. It's just a game of leapfrog and making sure that the 75 things were in place. Now, I had a head start because I'd already built a lot of this stuff, but it's exactly the stuff that we teach in all of our programs. And this is the delivery mechanism. So at this boot camp, you're hearing about the success, you're hearing from Aaron. Now, I've had criticism, by the way. I had somebody leave an event and post something about all Brandon did was parade up a couple of his high-priced, high-paid salespeople, blah, blah, blah. Look, whatever filter you came in this room with is still gonna be, if you leave thinking the same way you came in, it'll be the same filter. You'll look for what's wrong. It's just so easy to find what's wrong. Anybody ever work with anybody always pointed out what's wrong? You're like, we're trying to grow, but boss, it doesn't work, and everything's so hard, and this doesn't. It's like, okay, is there anyone in the room that can point out what might work? Is there anybody that has a good idea, or are we just gonna keep talking about what's broken? Because To get a different result requires a different level of thinking. So if you're gonna come in and listen to these stories and you're going, oh, the guy charges a lot, that's why he makes a lot, oh, his people are salespeople. Yeah, but understand, I can only charge a lot for a certain period of time if it doesn't work. Because what's allowing this to happen is that these people that I met here have moved from coming to an event to actually partnering in business with us, to actually acquiring their competitors with them. So we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger through the relationships like Dalton. That this isn't all boot camp revenue. You understand that? So you got to think about your business. You remember the games of Legos? You could just start and build a base and you build to the top, and sometimes you're like, I ran out of Legos. Or you started your base too small and you built it up and you're like, man, I need to build the base out because it's going to fall over. Well, building your business is the same way.